All right, the top of page 247. So in 5.3, we're going to talk about basically the inverse of what we talked in the previous section. Previous section, we talked about proving triangles are congruent by angle, side, angle. That was two congruent angles and one congruent included side. Here we're going to talk about side, angle, side. So that's two sets of congruent sides where the included angle is congruent in both triangles. So example number 1, go ahead and pause the video and read through example 1A as all of the work is kind of done for you on that problem. We'll resume and talk about it here in a few seconds. So as you can see, the end result, these two triangles are not congruent. Segment AB corresponds with segment DE because they're both 20 centimeters long. Those are the two top segments of both the triangles. Segment AC, kind of the bottom left side of the left triangle, was 19. And segment DF, kind of the bottom right side of the triangle on the right, those sides were corresponding. So we have two sets of congruent sides in this problem. But the included angle would be angle A and angle D, right? Because that's the angle that's formed by our congruent sides, angle A and angle D, and they're not exactly the same. If they were both 43 or both 45, then that would be enough to say these triangles are congruent, but they're different angle measures. So let's look at example 1B. So again, it says look for congruent corresponding parts. So we have triangle JKL. Going clockwise, we have JKL and triangle NPM. So it tells us in this problem that JK is 74 inches, NM is 74 inches. So those sides are going to be corresponding. It also tells us segment JL is 46 inches and segment PM is 46 inches. So let's walk through the guide here below. First thing it says segment JL corresponds to blank. We already said JL corresponds to segment PM, and that's because the distance from J to L is equal to the distance from P to M, which in both cases is 46 inches. The second statement says blank corresponds to MN. So MN is the kind of that flat bottom side on the right triangle. It corresponds to JK, which is the flat top side of the left triangle. They correspond because they both equal 74 inches. And then finally, we want to talk about the angles, right? Right now we have two sets of two congruent sides. Now we need the included angle, which has to be angle J in the left triangle, because it's the angle that's formed by JL and JK, and angle M in the right triangle, because it's the angle that's formed by the segments PM and NM. And we can see that these two angles are both 37 degrees. So angle J corresponds to angle M because the measures of those angles are both 37 degrees. And generally, we wouldn't write this much in a problem unless it was a proof. We're just kind of stepping through in this example. So finally, we can say two sides and the included angle of triangle JKL are congruent to two sides and the included angle of triangle MNP. So that means triangle JKL is congruent to triangle MNP, and that's by the side angle side postulate. So I encourage you now to go to the next page. There's a your turn. Go ahead and pause the video. We're looking at the your turn at the top of page 248. Pause the video and we'll talk about this together in about 5 seconds. So this problem says determine whether the triangles are congruent. And again, right now we know angle side angle from the last section, and we know side angle side from this section. We can see pretty clearly these two triangles, if they're going to be congruent, it's side angle side. And that's because angle D and angle G are both marked congruent. We're not given an exact angle measure, but we're given that congruency arc to tell those two angles are congruent. So we know of no other angles congruent in this problem. So it can't be angle side angle. So what we want to do is we want to verify the sides that form angle D and form angle G are congruent. So we can see segment DE is 2.5 centimeters and segment HG is also 2.5 centimeters. So those corresponding sides are congruent. And then also segment DF, kind of that bottom left side of the left triangle, is 1.7 centimeters. And it's congruent to segment JG, kind of the segment on the bottom right of that right triangle. They both had that 1.7 centimeters length. So that's our two congruent sets of sides and the included angle all being congruent in this problem. It's important as you're proceeding through the example problems to remember that, again, we have two ways to prove triangles are congruent now. We have the side angle side and we have the angle side angle. So at this point, you need to be able to comfortably use both of those and look for both of those when you're doing example problems.